the thing that all the Abrahamic religions have in common is their belief that Abraham is the standard of righteousness. Abraham was a human trafficker, a child molester, and a racketeer. This is the story of Abraham from Genesis chapter 12 through 22. Satan came to Abraham and said, "Psst, I need you to abandon your parents and your family and follow me, and I'll make you great." And Abraham was like, "Yeah, I want to be great. I'm already great. I'm the greatest it's ever been. Everybody says I'm the greatest." So he leaves his family, he abandons his parents, and he moves to the land of Canaan. A little while later, Satan comes to Abraham again, and he's like, "Psst, look, there's this land. It's called Greenland, and you can have it. I'm going to steal it from these people, and I'll give it to you. I'm going to need you to build me an altar to signify your covenant with this theft and greed." And Abraham's like, "Yeah, I can build you an altar. I'm the best altar builder. Everybody says I build the best altars. I build the tallest altars." So he built an altar. Oh, I'm sorry, it was the land of Canaan, not Greenland. Now, in this land of Canaan, where Abraham was, he was involved in two very distinct businesses: trafficking his wife and racketeering. So Abraham was married to the most beautiful woman in the world. And they would go into these countries and target really, really rich men, kings, governors, judges, people with great wealth. And they would pretend they were brother and sister. And Abraham would induce these really wealthy men to court his sister. And they would bring Abraham gifts of herds and lands and all kinds of wealth to have access and opportunity to court his beautiful sister. And then when that got old, he would pick one of these wealthy men and send her off with him to be married. And during the engagement period, this man would further lavish her with jewels and gems and crowns and lands and all kinds of wealth. And then right before the wedding, Abraham would send somebody in to tell the king that she was a married woman and that if he married her, the king would be committing a great crime against God and the people, and he would bring shame upon the nation. And the king would be absolutely appalled because the king was a righteous man. He wasn't a criminal. And these kings could not kick Sarah and Abraham out of their land quick enough. But when Abraham and Sarah left their land, they took with them massive amounts of wealth. Okay? So he was trafficking his wife. The other thing they were engaged in was a protection racket. So Sodom and Gomorrah is described in this story as exceedingly wicked and sinful. And they got pillaged and plundered. And Abraham went out and got all the captives and all the goods that were stolen from Sodom and Gomorrah and brought them back to these wicked and sinful people. And at that time, he instituted a 10% tithe from them as protection money. And he didn't do this alone. Abraham was part of a confederacy, like the Swiss Confederacy, the League of Nations, United Nations, whatever. He was part of a confederacy that was extorting people for protection money. And tithing was paid to Abraham by Sodom and Gomorrah, described as exceedingly wicked and sinful, because it is the exceedingly wicked and sinful who donate to the wicked and sinful. Okay? So those were his two rackets he had going on. So he had massive, massive amounts of wealth. He's probably a billionaire by now, okay? And he's never worked a day in his life. Never worked a day in his life. And he's just got money pouring in, pouring in. Protection money from multiple nations, just pouring in. He's running this trafficking thing with his wife where he's got money pouring in from every nation. They're robbing all the nations blind. Okie dokie. Well, so now that he's a billionaire and he's got all this massive wealth, what happens next? It's disgusting what happens next. Okay, what happens next is Abraham asks Satan for a sign. He's like, I know you said you're going to do this, this, and this, but look, I really need a sign. Can you show me a sign? And Satan said, yeah, sure. Here's what we're going to do. You know that altar I had you build? You're going to go take these beasts and you're going to sacrifice these beasts on your altar. So Abraham starts sacrificing beasts on the altar that he built. Okay? So now he's practicing the law of sacrifice. Then he commits adultery against his wife. He knocks up his wife's servant. Now, in the story, it says that Sarah gave him permission to sin. But if somebody tells you to sin, that doesn't make it not sin. If somebody tells you, to kill, that doesn't mean it's okay to kill. If somebody tells you to lie, that doesn't mean it's okay to lie. So apparently in the story as it's written, she okayed this. It's still adultery. So he committed adultery against his wife. And then Satan came to him again. Now that he's sacrificing animals and committing adultery on his wife, Satan comes to him and he's like, hey, I would really, really like to give you power over the nations, but I'm going to need you to do a little thing for me, okay? Like, it's going to take some real acts of barbarism and sadism for you to have power over the nations, so I need you to do some of that in your own home so I can make sure you're capable of it. So I need you to commit heinous acts of sadism and barbarism against your children and all the children of your servants. And Abraham was like, oh, yeah, because I'm a great sadist. There's never been a greater sadist than me. Everybody says I'm the best sadist. So Abraham agreed to do barbaric and heinous and sadistic acts against his own children and the children of his associates and servants, so that he could have power over the nations. And finally, Satan came to Abraham and said, hey, look, I need to give you like power over your enemies. That would be great, don't you think? Here's the thing. I need you to do this one little thing for me, because I need to know that you're all in. So I need you to murder your own son so I know that you're capable of, murdering your enemies. And so Abraham gets some rope and some wood and a knife, some Bic lighters. He takes his son up to this altar that he built, this innocuous altar, and he ties his son to it and raises his knife to kill his only son so that he can get power over his enemies. And as it is written, an angel stopped him from doing it, a messenger, a thought, we don't know, but he didn't do it. He didn't follow through on it. And that is the story of Abraham. Now, we have a very interesting conversation in John chapter 7 where Jesus is talking to the Levites about Abraham. And they're saying, Abraham's our father. And Jesus tells them, your father Abraham is a devil. He was a liar and a murderer. But you know what Abraham, the devil, didn't do? He didn't kill his son. So he was telling them, Abraham was the devil, but you're worse than children of the devil because he didn't kill his only son and you're about to kill me. So that is the story of Abraham, and that is why we can't have nice things, because we worship wickedness as righteousness. It's perverse and it's an abomination.